Hey guys, man, I'll tell you, this COVID stuff is wearing me down. I don't know about you. I'm wearing masks all the time, you know, when you go out and you hear different things on TV. Now they double masking, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So I had to go to a doctor over at a psychiatrist. It was just dragging me down so much. I said, Doc, every time I look in the mirror, I see this ugly old man. What's wrong with me? He said, I don't know, but your vision's perfect. That's my man, Rodney Dangerfield. But anyway, you know, I had a request to do videos on mileage again. A lot of people are curious, well, what's your mileage on your truck, just normal running down the highway? What kind of mileage can I expect with one of these trucks? Because I have done a lot of mileage on towing. Now, this is going to cover the 2013 to 2018. Some folks call it fourth, some folks call it fifth generation, but anyway, it's those years, and they're virtually identical in terms of the horsepower and torque and power output and that sort of thing. So, but the one thing that will change, actually three things that will change your mileage, and you see arguments on the internet and forums about, oh, well, I get this and I get that. Well, there's too many variables. You know, it depends on your altitude, your temperature, the humidity. Those things, and altitude, I mean the atmospheric pressure. So those things will change the conditions. You know, the perfect conditions, like the test conditions, you know, and the SAE, ISO, whoever it is, has standards for that. But, you know, you'd be at basically 0 altitude and like a 15 PSI atmospheric pressure and, I don't know, 68 degrees temperature or something. That would be like your perfect conditions. I made a trip to Baton Rouge the other day, and I was pretty close to that. Not quite, but it was a nice day. Humidity here in Louisiana is always high, though, so I don't know what that was, but it was up there. But the temperature was down close to 71, 72. We'll see in the video. And also the altitude. I like to use density altitude, and that's something that pilots use because it gives you an idea of how your engine's performing with those three things taken into consideration. And it's an important thing to a pilot because it tells them how much runway they're going to need to take off. And you know what the performance of the engine is. So it equates to our trucks too, though. And the little Banks iDash that I use reads density altitude. So it's interesting to me that it does. Now on this particular day, I think I was running between 400 to 1,200 feet density altitude. Now we're at sea level here, but because of the different conditions, the heat, humidity, these sort of things, pressure, it raised the density altitude up to where my engine was performing, equivalent of about 1,200 feet, something like that, which isn't much, negligible amount. But you know, you get over in Las Vegas, and yeah, it's going to make a hell of a difference. So that's why you can't really argue with people about mileage, because it's going to vary. So taking that into consideration, let's take a look at what I got on this particular day, and I'll show you what the conditions are, and you can just kind of form your own opinions. All right, guys, let's take a look at kind of a theoretical thing here. This is what I would call fiction, and I'll explain. But first, the total trip that I took was 142 miles round trip. A lot of traffic. In fact, half the time, you'll see that in the next chart, was traffic. The other half was mileage. This is strictly my highway mileage right here. At one speed, you know, that's why I say it's theoretical. The temperature ranged from 68 to 72 average. That's the average, but it did get as high as 80, which is why I had that higher density altitude right here and that sort of thing. But pretty good day for Louisiana in terms of, you know, good conditions for getting, I'd say, optimum or close to optimum gas mileage. So I did some different runs, and like I say, this is empty. 60 miles an hour, 24.6, and that's according to the lyometer. I didn't calculate it. My lyometer comes out reasonably close, usually a little under. I have actually had readings where it was higher, and I tried to pin that down once by, filling the tank, making a run, filling it, and I never could really get any good accurate readings. But I would say, based on most people's comments, the lyometer is probably a little bit less than or higher than what you normally get. And then at 65, we got 22.2, and at 70, we got 20.8. And that's, as I mentioned, just going down the highway, pulled out all the slowdowns, increase in speed. I mean, this is just like if you just locked your cruise control and was able to do nothing but that steady speed for a good period of time. So that's why I say it's not really realistic. Now let's look at the real numbers. And I mentioned the lyometer. I'm assuming that the I dash, which I use to record all this, and this is in 1 second intervals, is probably the same. The I dash does report out in gallons per hour, and I just convert it to mile per gallon because it seems easier to understand that way. But this is like real world stuff here, because I had a lot of traffic time. You can see my highway average was 22.5 miles per gallon, and I averaged 64.1 miles an hour, and that was just highway time. 101 hour and 41 minutes of highway time, and this is just a 142 mile trip. It took me 3 hours and 32 minutes. So you can see the local time was typical Baton Rouge traffic. If you've ever been there, it's terrible. But 13.8 mile per gallon in a city at an average speed of 18.7 miles per hour. And there was a lot of idling for red lights and that sort of thing. I had to go off the beaten path there. This was not just typical running down the interstate, stop and go. This was some heavy-duty city traffic. So I guess I would call it worst case scenario. And of course, the total comes out to 19.5 mile per gallon and 40.4 miles an hour. So that's to me what I would call real world. As I said, I'm getting this off of my I dash, which I think is probably going to read the same thing as the what we call the lyometer, which is your little gauge on the dash, and it's probably all coming off the PCM at the same with the same data. So depending on how close your truck runs to the lyometer as far as calculated versus what it's showing, I'm usually within a mile per gallon. You can, take these numbers with that into consideration. But anyway, I hope this gives you kind of an idea of what I get anyway on my truck. And this is, as I said, 2013 to 2018 is pretty much the same truck. So you should get about these numbers. And of course, that's not, I didn't have any regens on the way, so that would knock your mileage down a little bit. Generally, you don't have many on the highway, if any. But nonetheless, that's it for today, guys. I appreciate you guys watching my video, and until next time, adios.